It's the home of the 24-hour race. It's the home of the F1 Belgian Grand Prix. And for the first time ever, the SuperPro VAG Trophy and the Touch of Mojo Mark II Golf GTI Championships are racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. Now, the first car race here in Spa was in 1922, the first 24-hour race was in 1924, and the first Grand Prix was in 1925. Now, he hasn't been racing for quite that long, but he is our biggest Spa veteran. It's Dave Carvell. Dave, when was your first race here?
In 1983, and I remember it well.
That's quite a long time ago. You remember it well. What happened?
I won, and I took the lead at the very last corner. So very enjoyable.
That's certainly not a bad thing. So tell us, if you were a newbie, a new driver here at Spa, what advice can you give?
First of all, be careful. It's if you make a mistake, it's a very punishing track. It's high speed. It's not very forgiving at all. So, but enjoy. I mean, the track is awesome, and it's certainly my favourite circuit. But it's just there to be enjoyed.
Has it changed much over the years?
Very little. The tricky bit before the Formula One pits is new. I don't like it. I'd rather have the old bus stop feature, and people who know what Spa was before will know what I'm talking about. I preferred that setup, but doesn't detract from the quality of this circuit.
So looking ahead to this weekend, are you on pace?
Yes, we're certainly looking forward to it. Yes, I think we are. The car's quick around the tricky bits, not so quick up the straight, so I'm going to have to work hard. But in a lap time, yes, I think we are competitive.
After a fantastic qualifying session yesterday, Deppert is up on pole for the SuperPro VAG Trophy. Volkard is on pole for the Mark II Golf GTIs. Now, it's a rolling start, and there's a 30-second gap between the two grids. La Source, Hairpin and Eau Rouge challenge the most experienced of all drivers, so even more than ever, this is going to be a good race.
Should be an absolute cracker. So this is how they qualified in the combined qualifying session, with Martin Deppert and David Fairbrother then sharing the front row of the VAG grid. The first of the Golfs was Harry Volkard, and he'll share the front row of their grid with Jamie Martin and Mike Robinson. Then the third of the Mark II Golf GTIs was Mike Smith, who headed up the Class B runners, then the VAG Trophy, and Andrew Aldridge, who was the first of the 6-valve Class 1 runners amongst the Golfs. 35 of them in all making the trip across to Belgium. This promises to be a highlight for all of these drivers' careers, and something very, very entertaining for us to enjoy, as well as we get ready for the rolling start then for the SuperPro VAG Trophy. And away we go here at the legendary Spa-Francorchamps, and it is the number 30 car of Martin Deppert who leads the way into La Source for the first time. It's Stuart Lyons, 34, a white Golf, who squeezes through next along. Then Fairbrother in the Scirocco being swamped. It's Paul Taylor, number 1 car, who also squeezes through as they plunge down the hill past the 24-hour starting grid and into the legendary Eau Rouge corner, with Martin Deppert in pursuit from Stuart Lyons. Then it's Paul Taylor, the red Golf, in third. David Fairbrother in fourth, although he is coming under all the pressure from those behind. Pleased to see that they're all safely through and climbing out of Radiant and onto the Kemmel Straight for the first time. Of course, they've seen that legendary move from Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher in the 2000 Belgian Grand Prix. I'm sure that Stuart Lyons is dreaming of doing much the same thing to Martin Deppert, but not on this occasion. Instead, Lyons busy having to defend from Paul Taylor, as Dave Cavell in his slightly older Scirocco looking to move his way past David Fairbrother in the newer model. As we're ready for go with the Golfs, and it's the black number 6 car of Harry Volkard who gets the jump from the number 1 machine, or 101 machine rather, of Jamie Martin. Then it's Mike Robinson who is next along, and then Lewis Hopkins leading from Martin Walsh as they all tip their way through La Source. It's always nice to see a combined race like this, and the circuit at Spa is plenty large enough. They're each going to be able to have their individual races without having to worry about the traffic too much, as this leading trio already breaking through the rest of the pack. Swoop through Eau Rouge. What a highlight this is for Harry Volkard, leading Jamie Martin as the rest of them all accelerate through as quickly as they dare. A little bit sideways, very sideways for Andrew Aldridge, as we have a look at the replay of the start in car with Tom Witts. who has his wits about him as the gear lever comes off, rear fixes it just to shake the head. Now that is staying calm in a pressurised circumstance. It'd be very easy to panic, but he just reattaches the gear lever and gets on with it, as it is Harry Vocard with Jamie Martin in hot pursuit. Meanwhile, back to the Supro VAG trophy as they pick their way through Fagnes, with still Martin Deppe leading the way from Stuart Lyons. Then we've got Dave Covell and Paul Taylor. So it's Paul Winnie as well. Next along in his Seat, looks to be Winnie in the bright yellow car, trying to find his way through at Stavelot. From Stavelot they'll begin the long and very, very fast run back towards the pits. That's what the head of the field are doing now, as David Fairbrother and Shocker has really been shuffled down the pack on this first lap of the race. So around Blanchimont and back into our view comes the race leader, Martin Deppe, being pursued just a little bit by Stuart Lyons. And then we've got Dave Covell, Paul Taylor and Paul Winnie in the Seat as they all hit the brakes through the bus stop chicane. There was Tony Absalom a little bit further back, as out of the bus stop and through to complete the first lap of the race, and leading the way it is still Martin Deppe. Stuart Lyons chasing him down, super fight, emerging for third, and Dave Covell, well, he raced here Espana 20 years ago, as Winnie looks for the move on Paul Taylor, and he's going to go through at the source. Super move there from Winnie. He saw the gap, pushes Taylor out onto the AstroTurf on the exit before they head downhill, and it really is such a steep hill here at Spa. To give you an indication of just how steep it is, the paddock area to the inside of the circuit there is actually built to a number of different levels, a little bit like some of the fields you might see in the Andes, and that's the only way they can really make it an appropriate working environment. As running wide across the rumble strips there was Joe McMillan, as now Stuart Lyons thinks about lining up the move on Martin Deppe. Hard to see just how close he is as the camera foreshortens the angle somewhat. The answer is he's not really near enough to move through, but he is able to close in onto the tail of Martin Deppe, as Dave Covell busy heading off the challenges of Paul Taylor and Paul Winnie. There's Joe McMillan as the Touch Mojo Mark II Golf GTI Championship runners come through to complete their first lap of the race, with still Harry Vocard leading the way just from Jamie Martin, and then it's Mike Robinson in third position, and very, very closely attached in third as well, with Lewis Hopkins in fourth in the all-white car, just at the back of that shot. This is one of the beauties of this Mark II Golf GTI Championship. Wherever you look, there is always somebody to race with. There's Andrew Aldridge, the 95 car, just clear of Alex Bomber Harris. Aldridge leading, by the way, the Class 1 runners, which is for the 8-valve cars. It's the 16-valve cars that make up Class 2. Obviously, those extra 8 valves make them a little bit punchier in the straight line, which is why they run to the front of the field, as Mike Robinson lines up a move on Jamie Martin into Eau Rouge. Surely he's not going to try around the outside on the way into Eau Rouge. He does exactly that to take second position. Brilliant move there from Robinson. Absolutely wonderful to see. We go in car with Tom Witts, has a little bit of a lift, picks up the pace now, looks to build up the speed as Alistair Sedwell takes his turn to pick his way through Eau Rouge, and that may have gone a little bit wrong, and there's something that's happening. Sedwell into the barriers, bang! And Alistair Sedwell, his race emphatically over, and maybe the career of that Golf also emphatically over, because that is a very, very quick place to go off the road. The most important thing is that Alistair is okay. I suspect his bank balance, though, has sustained a rather more serious injury. The Super Pro VAG Trophy, well, they will come across the yellow flag zone next time through. It's still Deppe from Lyons, then Dave Covell from Paul Winnie, just from Paul Taylor. The red Golf, though, Paul Taylor doing his best to go wheel to wheel with Paul Winnie. They've also got Josh Cagill right on their tail as well. And then it's number 10 car, the Beetle, the New Star Beetle of Martin Cully, who's next along. As they're about to pick their way out of Stavelot. There is Simon Tomlinson, a little bit lower down, Touch of Mojo Mark II Golf GTI Championship field, busy doing battle with Adrian Ward, the pair of them fighting it out for second and third in the Class 1 scrap to get on the legendary Spa rostrum. What a fight we've got for third in the Super Pro VAG Trophy. They all come out of Blanchimont with varying angles of attack before they then fan out on the brakes, think about who's going to do what into the bus stop chicane. It all gets a little bit elbow to elbow as Paul Winnie once more attempts to vanquish Paul Taylor. Will that be any more successful than the other 10 times he's tried it on this lap? I suspect that Taylor in the Golf may well look to come surging past by the time they arrive into the hairpin at the source, and they've also got Josh Cahill in the multicoloured Golf to concern themselves with. 3 wide into the source, Winnie in the bright yellow Seat to the inside. Paul Taylor in the red Golf looking to squeeze past, but I think Josh Cahill may have gained the place there. Back to the front of the Golf field, and it is Harry Vocard who leads it still from Robinson and Martin. As Andrew Bomber Harris has now been able to pick his way past Andrew Aldridge. It's James Howlerson who is his next target. Meanwhile, the epic fight for third in the VAG Trophy continues all the while, though. This is of limited concern to Martin Deppert, because he is just able to maintain this buffer over Stuart Lyons at the field. They've all pulled well clear of Dave Cavell, who's doing a redoubtable job now trying to keep the Golf of Scott Cahill, whose bonnet has come slightly unattached at bay. They've also got Paul Taylor and Paul Winnie still in the mix, and this is the beauty of the Super Pro VAG Trophy, is that you've got Volkswagens and Seats and all the cars from Volkswagen Audi Group of all shapes and sizes battling wheel to wheel. Always great racing. Meanwhile, Harry Vocard still leads the Golf component of the race from Mike Robinson. They've both dropped Jamie Martin, who's now under threat from Lewis Hopkins, as they head towards La Source once more. Hopkins looks to the inside, no way through there, snatches the brakes. We're going to take a short break here on Full Speed Racing. Join us as the action continues in a couple of moments' time.